What is up, everybody? Okay, let's rock and roll.
It's a little cold out. You can see my breath. I've got my foul weather gear on this, so I'm ready. Ha! Ha! That's about right. Okay. I'm good, let's go. You want to see it again? I'm going to destroy all of my credibility as an expert in docking right now. Ahoy hoy, I am Captain Boomies, and in this video, I'm going to show you me screwing up docking a teeny tiny little boat in St. Pete during the St. Pete Boat Show. I am totally mortified by this, and I've tried to make this video a few times, and I just couldn't seem to do it, so now we're gonna just stream of conscious this mess because I'm so embarrassed by it that this is the only way it's gonna get out there. Forgive me. Old outboard on the back, and it's a rental. And the rental company was super nice and gave me a really good discount on it. Thank you guys. You can check out their website down below. I'm willing to do that because no, I didn't end up damaging this boat. I just did a terrible job docking it, and I'm gonna show you really quickly how that looked. You've seen, I could not get this boat close to the damn dock. I had to have my husband ultimately like do a flying leap. The audio on that, but here it is finally. Ahoy hoy, I am Captain Boomies, and this is the story of my Annapolis to Bermuda race on the tall ship, the Pride of Baltimore II. There's some ups, there's some downs, there's a whole lot of sideways, but that's because it's a sailboat and they're designed to do that. All right, this kind of happened during my off watch, so I gotta go put pants on. Yeah! Pants! Pride of Baltimore is a replica of an 1812 era Baltimore-built clipper ship. Crazy fast, they were outrunning British blockades, they're very cool ships, and I probably have to make a whole other video just about the history of Baltimore and shipbuilding and kicking serious butt on the water. But in the meantime, let me just show you this very sexy boat. Are you drooling yet? She's a completely gorgeous vessel. So let's see where I'm gonna be living for a few days during the race. This is the heart of the whole place, the galley. This is where my favorite person exists, the cook. This is where the crew lives, up in the forecastle. This is a guest cabin. This is a guest cabin. This is my cabin. Like I said, we're spoiled. Full shower. There's a water maker in there, so I could actually take one if I wanted. And then the awful part. There's a head. Engine room. Okay, so we're gonna go into the officers area, which is also where they do all the navigation from. So it's interesting to me. Okay, welcome to the nav station. Yes, we've got lots of modern conveniences here. It's a replica, it's not an antique. Officers' cabins, officers' cabins, officers' cabins. And remember, the engine room. The Annapolis to Bermuda race is about 700 nautical miles, and the record holder for this race did it in just under 3 days. So that means doing the entire run at about 10 knots the entire time, which is pretty hard to do for a sailboat. Ahoy hoy! Uh-oh, why can't I hear you? Oh no, what happened?
I'm muted. I'm sorry. I muted my mic. It's live. You know how that happens. So, before we get started, I want you to know that we were both going to be at Bay Country Crab and Supplied today, and I was talking to Danny. He's got something. He's got something going. How do I explain? He's got something going on, and so he will be in. He'll be talking about that and announce it hopefully pretty shortly. So, he'll let everybody know. So it wasn't that he didn't want us coming or anything. It was just I don't think he seemed to be actually rather so. And it's nice because today it's going to be just crappy out today. The rain, it's supposed to rain like nuts. Are you getting snow today?
It's sleeting for sure. Yeah, it's gross.
Do you love this time of year?
No, I hate it.
When you're just, I mean,
I'm gonna be in
just
Florida in 2 weeks. I'm over it already. I can't stay here.
Well, you just came back. Explain kind of what you do, what you've done, because I read all the stuff and kind of make it clear because we know you drove big yachts. You've seen some really good stuff. I think some really because you know how wealthy people can be a little cuckoo, right? So I'm thinking you got some good stories you're going to tell us. No names, no boats, no names, and just let everybody know exactly what you do.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on, and I think that you and your wife do such cool stuff out on the water. I mean, you're taking full advantage of the Chesapeake Bay, and I moved to the Chesapeake because I'm obsessed with this body of water. I think it's really fantastic. If it was, pretty blue water, I think the entire world would be boating here. But, so it's a little brackish, whatever. There's still so much to do.
Little poopy mix. With it too. Go ahead.
But so I have been professionally floating boats for more than 20 years now, and I grew up sailing, and then I ended up on big white yachts, and I did the whole world on those as private yacht crew, and worked my way up to captain, and then I started missing my family and needing to go back to being land-based. So in order to be land-based, though, I had to figure out something else to do. Oh, I love that picture. So that's actually me and my sister. We're on a 1957 Chris Craft that I got to tootle around on as captain for some dinner cruises and stuff like that. But my sister was on board that day helping me move it because I just had to go from one dock to another. And she's a great mate. We both grew up sailing, so it works out really well for us.
It's funny because you've captained these boats, but it seemed like it's much easier for you to dock this one than that little tiny boat with the outboard.
Oh my God, yeah. Hate you for pulling that footage. So yeah, bigger boats are easier to dock. I'm not the only captain that'll tell you that. They're less bullied by the elements. Everything happens slower. Yes, they're more powerful, so that also helps because you can kind of overpower anything that needs overpowering when you're docking. Whereas something that's small and light, like that Hurricane, that little deck boat, hate that boat. As soon as there's any amount of current, you're gonna feel it, and that made for a little ugly docking situation.
Yeah, that's what made because my boat's very very light. It's all aluminum. I mean, if you get a really good gust of wind, if you get a good gust of like 25, 30 mile an hour wind as I'm driving, it literally will push you to the side.
Absolutely.
It will just give you a little, a nice nudge to the side. And for me on my boat, because I'm like I said, I'm going to offer you. It's up to you. It's up to you. We'll take you out on Chesapeake Bay. We'll take you out crabbing, and you can drive my boat. And see, mine actually has a gas pedal, so
What?
yeah. So it's called a hot foot. So a lot of bass boaters from bass fishing and everything, when they're driving them 60, 70 mile an hour on a boat, they can keep both their hands up on the thing, but there's no brake, but they do have a gas pedal.
Wow. Okay. So, like I said, I've been on boats for a very long time, but I know nothing about fishing. Nothing. Like
Worm and bobber, man. That's all you need. Go to Walmart and get yourself a cheap rod and put a bobber and worm on it, and you'll catch plenty. You'll catch all kinds of stuff.
Oh man, I love that. I remember being a kid and baiting my hook wrong just so I wouldn't have to take the fish off the hook because I thought that was the worst part. But I finally went on a fishing charter with like a full crewed fishing charter. And that was excellent because they had a mate who would take the fish off the hook. So all I had to do was show up, drink beer, and reel stuff in, which was really fantastic. I get it. That's great. I would do that anytime.
Now you just came back from the Virgin Islands. Am I not right? Am I right from that?
Oh yeah, I did just come back from the Virgin Islands.
You had too much fun, it seemed like. You were working, but it seemed like you're having too much fun.
Of course, I'm always having too much fun. But yeah, so that was with Waypoint Charters. They have a couple different bases down there in the Virgin Islands, one in the US Virgin Islands and one in the British Virgin Islands. And I have cruised the British Virgin Islands a lot. Like a lot. So it was sort of fun though to take a boat from the US Virgin Islands, which I'd really only ever gone to because it's a great fuel stop for bigger boats, but I'd never really spent any time exploring it or doing anything like that. So it was really fun to go from the US Virgin Islands to the British Virgin Islands and then bring the boat back to the US Virgin Islands. But she was a 40 some odd foot catamaran sailboat. But the Christmas winds were just kicking my butt the whole time. Am I allowed to swear on this one?
I mean, I wouldn't think any kids are watching this. I mean, we can, you can do everything. I mean, we can control the F-bombs, but other than that, I mean, if you want to say shit or something like that, I'm sure nobody would be too offended.
I'll behave myself as best I can. I just, potty mouth sailor. What can I say?
That's what they say. That's what they say.
So yeah.
Now you were, go ahead.
Yeah. So the Christmas winds are something that during the month of December and early January, you get some good 30 knot 30, which is like 35, 36 miles per hour winds, which is normally great for a sailboat, except that when you are going from the US Virgin Islands to the British Virgin Islands, it's all upwind and sailboats can't sail directly upwind. So it was just brutal trying to get anywhere.
So that's where, so I do get a kick out of watching it. Me and my wife actually tolerated watching it, but I watched a couple people leave California and take I'm talking little sail, like, I don't even think they were 30 foot. They were only like 18, 20 foot, little tiny sailboats and left to Hawaii and sailed across the ocean. I mean, I'm thinking dirt nuts. This 18-year-old went towards the equator. I think he was talking what you're saying, that, when you got winds like that, you actually got to go like back and forth to kind of keep the wind. So it takes, instead of what might take you one day, could take you 3 days.
You got it. You're nailing it. You totally get it. So it's basically a sailboat sail. If you were to take all the edges of it and grab it on all the edges and pull it tight with you and a bunch of people, it's still not perfectly flat. It has a curve to it. And the idea is that you need the wind to push a little bit on one side of the sail in order to make that foil curved shape so that you can create lift on one side of the sail. So that's what, yes, exactly like a plane. Sorry, I can see the comments coming through.
I haven't got the comments up there yet. I'm sorry. My aunt's on there. Good morning. How are you?
Exactly like an airplane wing. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So I mean, I know you were working down there too. It did not seem like you were working, but you were working down there. But you were doing videos on Hey, being a captain and being on a camera in beautiful weather, drinking beer and working. I mean, that's a job that's
Oh no, I'm definitely living the dream at this point. In fact, it's crazy to think about the fact that any other time I'd been in the British Virgin Islands, it's usually that I am working, and no, I'm not. I'm not doing half the stuff that I was doing on this. I'm helping other people have the best charter of their life. So to do this trip though, and I mean, I guess it's just a weird part of being on the internet now is that I get to show people the things that I used to just help other people do. And now as a captain that can do all the I can still do boat charters. I can still plan a trip for somebody else and provision it and hire chefs and get us from point A to point B and then hand them a towel when they get back onto the boat from swimming around. But now I'm doing that and I get to film it, and that's been absolutely amazing. I can't even express how grateful I am that I get to do all this goofing off.
yeah. Hey, that's what it is. If you don't love your, they're saying if you're not always if you can do what you love, then you're not really working, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's just so different, right? Because I feel like I used to be just professional crew, and now it's almost, what am I trying to say here? Let me think about this for a second so that I don't implode. I'm trying to say that doing it professionally is so different than doing it for funsies.
Because you got a responsibility. I mean, it's the responsibility.
It
I mean,
is the responsibility, and I still feel a lot of that. So one of the things that like all of my footage from that trip is designed to look great because that was the job. I had to look pretty. I had to look like I was having the best time ever because that's the correct answer. But like I said, I was getting
drinks and pineapples and stuff. Yeah, I know that was hard. That was terrible.
I was getting brutalized by these Christmas winds. I had a schedule to keep. I had very few professional. I had no other help other than my husband to get this boat from point A to point B. So I was doing everything myself essentially. And that's a lot of work.
Mhm.
And I used to get paid a lot of money to do that. So it's do that and then have the energy and excitement to jump off the boat 30 times because no, that last shot you weren't looking at the camera, and on the one before that we could see some stuff with your bathing
Right.
suit.
Right.
Go jump again because this time you need to go higher for this shot. Go jump again. There was a cloud that looked ugly. Go I
You know,
must have jumped off that boat like 300 times in a day.
well, that was funny because my next door neighbor, she's a captain too, and I think I sent you a message saying that I don't think she would mind. I'll definitely talk to her because sometimes she don't mind having the company, but she does commercial crabbing just like Luke and CJ, but she does different crabbing. She does trout line crabbing. All right. You have two different kind of commercial crabbers in Maryland. One is the oh my god, it just flew right out of my head. What Luke and CJ do, they use the pot. They're called potters, so they
Yeah.
can actually they take the pots out. They cannot come into the creeks, so they are only allowed to be out in certain waters. They can't bring them pots into rivers and creeks. So in the rivers and creeks, you have crabbers and commercial crabbers like my friend next door, which is a trout liner. So they run about 4,800 feet of line. Every 6 foot is a bait, and they take their boat, they run down the line, and they dip it with a net. They dip
Oh,
crabs.
that's so interesting.
You didn't know that?
No, I know nothing about fishing. I
Well, that's
don't know how to
crab.
tell you this any other way.
But, and she I don't think that, usually she don't mind because it's usually she does it all by herself, and when you see what she does now it's an early if you don't mind getting up early, she gets up, like, summertime, I mean, you're gonna meet her, like, 2:45 AM in the morning, 3
Whoa.
3 in the morning, so there's
So I
it's
should just stay up is what you're saying.
yeah. No drinking. But you'll see her. She works her ass off. She's out right now. Well, she ain't today. She don't do on the weekends. I just did a video out with her while she was out oystering. So they're out there doing commercial oystering right now on the bay. I did a video with them. So I would think that she wouldn't mind. She's always says she don't mind when people come. The only problem is she can get nobody to get up that early in the morning. So
Yeah, I
that's
bet. That's tough. That's brutal.
not
That's
getting up
work.
that early. Yeah, you'll see. It'll be it'll be kind of it's a repetitious thing, but I think you'll have fun. You'll get the kind of thing like what Luke and CJ do, where they it's kind of repetition. They make it look really really fun, but it's really just a straight. It's a really straightforward. Once she kind of sets her line, you're kind of just doing it. You're just running lines, doing crabs, calling crabs, bushing them up. She's got music cranking, so it'll be
That
fun.
sounds
I'm
awesome.
sure. I'll let her know.
I'm
Damn,
so
damn
curious
crabs.
because I mean, in my mind, one of the things that you have to do to be a captain is you've got to know all your day shapes and your lights and things like that for different types of vessels. And I just occurred to me that having a 400-foot line hanging off the back of your boat is pretty intense mariner stuff. Like you are
Yeah.
there's a day shape for that, and I'm like, parts of my brain are bubbling right now remembering
Yeah, 'cause
things from my captain's license test that I haven't ever had to really use. Which is pretty cool, which is why I should go hang out with this woman.
yeah, well, when you're oystering, it's a whole oystering, especially when a lot of times when you're look, I'm interviewing you and here I am babbling about it, but
I like it.
oystering, it's being a captain. We're talking captain and being a captain on a boat. So being a captain, when she did it, oystering, so she's a dredger. So she drags her dredge behind a boat. She brings it up to the side. So when you're in an area, a lot of times that's really the only area. And before you know it, you got anywhere between 5 to 20 boats in this area. So not only does she have to run the dredge, have it dragging behind her boat, bringing it up. When she brings it up, she's not taking out her husband. She's got to unload, and the whole time she's got to raise, lift, drive the boat, and make sure she's not. I mean, we're talking close. We're talking where somebody's got to stop, back up, because it's almost like bumper boats because there's so many boats in one area, and so she's got to drive, sort oysters. She's got a, crabbing's different. She's kind of pretty much, she leaves dark. She leaves. It's when she lays her line, it's pitch black. She's laying her line out in the dark, and the sun comes up. But oystering, you could have a lot of boats out there at once, and you got to dodge everybody while you're trying to work and run the boat and doing everything. So
I mean, I'm
it's all,
impressed already. This sounds like way more work than I've ever had to do as a captain. Like the closest thing I can come up with is maybe, 4th of July, having to jockey between boats to get to the good spot for watching the fireworks. That's, and even then, it's usually more of a problem leaving the fireworks when everybody's a little too.
everybody's leaving. Yeah, we've done that too. I won't do that. I had to be really far away because there's just stupid people out there on the water. I'm sorry, they're just stupid.
It's too hectic. I'm with you on that, but also, if you pay me enough, I'll do it.
So you've actually got the now. So have you taken? So explain to me, because you think that I have kind of, when I say captain, you're not out captain. You're not actually running like deadliest catch boat. So you're by weight. So is that what I mean? So I mean, are you allowed to actually captain a boat like that?
So
Or
what's interesting is commercial fishermen actually don't necessarily need to have a captain's license. So for example, CJ and Luke, they don't have to have a captain's license. They do, but that was more of, it helps when you get the DNR coming and poking at you. If you can say, listen, I have my license, I know what I'm talking about.
right.
So legally, it has way more to do with vessels that have passengers on it. And even then, when I was working on private yachts, you don't necessarily have to have a captain's license for that because it's private. So you can, what's the word I'm looking for? You just have to have enough of a resume that the insurance company won't have a problem with it. And most insurance companies, though, still want to see that you have this thing right here, which is my merchant mariner credential. And it says that I am a master of vessels not to exceed 200 gross tons. And tonnage is a weird thing, right? Tonnage has more to do with the holding, the storage capacity of the boat than it does the length of the boat or the weight of the boat. It
Wait
has
a
to
minute.
do with, yeah, it has to do with enclosed spaces. So that's why a, a motor yacht that's 100 feet might be, 150 gross tons, and a sailboat that's 100 feet might only be 80 gross tons or
Right.
less. Actually, I've seen some that are even less because they got super low freeboard and no room for storing anything on board. Super annoying.
So, so what's the farthest that you've actually are you kinda do you stay have you, like, gone from, like, Maryland to Florida driving a boat? Have you been
Oh,
so
yeah. Lots of
yeah, so
times.
lots of times
Uh,
and so you hired a crew, so you're on I keep saying this because 'cause we're gonna bring it up, so give me one I want kind of an old crap moment, like, that's one of the moments I wanna say, like, you're out and either maybe something broke down, maybe you got too many winds, maybe all of a sudden you got hit on the side of it, you know what I mean? You said it, you're gonna be boring about it, but I'm going like, "I don't know, you're still in the ocean, it doesn't matter, it can get you when you're not expecting it."
well, it's so funny because I have friends that have tons of those kind of stories. And if you know them, it makes sense. But the like the reality is most of my deliveries, and I've gone from New York to Florida probably 80 times in my life. Maybe more. I don't even know. But that run back and forth is boring. It's wonderfully, wonderfully boring. And that's how I know I'm doing my job well. However, I the problems always happen when you're still inshore and very close to land, because if something's going to break, it's usually going to break before you even get off the dock or just as you're
Huh,
getting off the dock or any of these things. I mean, the worst situation for me was probably very early in my captain career when I was running a teeny tiny launch, and I needed to go. I was just shuttling people back and forth, and this is in New York Harbor, and the current in New York Harbor gets pretty hectic in the Hudson River.
huh.
It's vicious, and it was a newer boat, but it still had some bugs to work out, and we hadn't really gotten the chance to properly test it. So there's some funniness with the computer talking to this Volvo Penta that runs this fly-by-wire um, system in order to actually steer the boat and put it in gear and take it out of gear. Like you would put it in gear and feel nothing, and
Right?
then all of a sudden you'd feel something. um, so it was such a strange monster of a boat, and probably the technology behind it wasn't quite ready. It wasn't quite ready. Like those boats now, the same make and build. I'm not gonna with the same Volvo essentially
Right.
are much more reliable now. But at the time, I had one just totally shut down on me, and it was a computer problem. It wasn't a mechanical problem. So the
Thank
computer
God
shut, yeah, shut the whole engine down on me in the middle of the Hudson River, and I can see there's a big barge coming down the river, and I know I'm in trouble. So I'm on the radio with this barge going, "Hey, can you divert course like even a little bit? Because I am totally dead in the water. I know it's not that big of a river, but if you could give me a little bit of room, that would be really helpful." And then on the
did you
side, I'm
answer and
going,
say the same Did you anchor it to keep it still, or you were just still
Absolutely
floating down
not.
the
No, 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 no. I mean, so
river?
the Hudson River is like 70 feet deep, and I'm in
Oh,
a
okay, okay, okay.
40-foot boat.
Yeah, that's not a
Uh,
little boat. I got a little bit.
yeah. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. But I had on this particular day, I had this woman on board with her 3 triplet blonde little girls. So I've got these 3 little blonde angels sitting on the
Right,
boat, and I'm about to get them all killed on the Hudson River, and I'm gonna die. I'm so panicked, um, but I'm not allowed to be because you're in captain mode, and when you're in
right.
captain mode, you're not allowed to
You're not
have
coming
a freak out. That's just boat daddy doesn't freak out. Boat daddy keeps his shit
right,
together.
right. I
So
can understand. I've done that once. I've done it once where we were driving, me and my buddy, we were out fishing, and we were down towards the end of by the Nanacoke. We were on the Nanacoke where it opens up to the bay. And when we went across, it was fine. We came back and we went to go back across, and now I got an 18-foot aluminum boat that's about this high from the water. And out of nowhere, we were getting 4 footers rolling into us. And after we kind of got halfway, I kind of told him, I'm going like, oh shit. And I was like, this is getting pretty rough. And I finally looked at him. I said, man, I don't think we're gonna go. I think we're gonna go back. He goes, good call. He was like, good call. And we rolled back because that's how quick. I mean, that's what I
it'll
mean.
change on you. Yeah,
But you stay
absolutely.
calm.
Stay calm.
They come usually. I won't.
Honestly,
Usually
yeah,
females, they kind of freak out.
no. Well, so that's interesting because I have found that so on this same boat, right? So we're dead in the water. The mate can see the barge that's coming, and nobody else can. Nobody else on board is looking as far down as I am, or as far around them. Their boat awareness is not the same as ours. So I send the mate up to the bow because I can see this sea ray, and I'm hoping he can flag them down while I distract the rest of the guests with like, oh, it'll be just a minute. We'll get a tow going, and I'll have this all sorted out in no time. So he flags down this sea ray that is full of people that have been partying and drinking and whatnot. So it's a mess, but we managed to toss them a line and just get pulled far enough to the side of the river for this barge to be able to pass by us with enough room. And then, of course, CETA, or I guess it was Boat US at the time, Boat US picked us up and brought us back to the marina. And all the while, I'm on the phone with limo companies, and these people are going to get where they need to go. They're just going to have to get there by land rather than sea. That's all.
Right.
However, once all the guests were in the limo and on their way, now, and like I've waved goodbye, and the mate, I'm like, you know what, go shut the boat up, and we'll call it a day, and I'll get the technicians in here to take a look at it. Like, then I started crying. Like, I just totally broke down and started crying. I was like, I almost killed those little girls. Like, I
mean,
can't believe I took a boat off the dock without being 100% on the engine. And I
you
was
do go
very,
through the engine, so you got to let people know. I mean, you actually go in. You have to get up on your. I've seen you in there crawling around, looking and making sure nothing's leaking, making sure things are working,
yeah.
fuses, life jackets, and So I mean, when you get a crew, do you hire the crew? So say somebody hires you, do they hire everybody? I mean, you're not hiring a cook or anything, or do you have to sometimes?
It totally depends. So back when I was working on yachts, I hired everybody. It was a rare day that I was that I wasn't the first person hired when I was captain. So as captain, yeah, you hire the mate, you hire the chef, you hire the all the staff, all the crew, and you train them and you get them where they're going. But every once in a while, as my career progressed and I knew that I wanted to be land-based, then I started being a fill-in captain. And then you are dealing with crew that you don't necessarily know. And, and one of my favorite times that I had to show up to a boat and take it off the dock with crew that I did not know. It was an emergency situation for a captain friend of mine, and I needed to take this boat off the dock and put it on anchor, so that we could then wait for the tide to change to be able to make it under this bridge. That was the whole thing. It was a timing issue. That's why it had to happen when it had to happen. The tides wait for no man. So I meet the crew. The mate seems fine, young kid, great guy. I'm like, great, we'll take this boat off the dock. What time did you wake up today? Okay, you're going to do first anchor watch. I'll take the second anchor watch so you can get plenty of sleep. And I wake up for my anchor watch and I head into the main salon, and he's sitting there, and there's the TV's on, and it's making some like noises.
Awesome. Must have been pretty bored. He must have been bored.
I was like, what is happening right now?
Good God.
So poor guy. So it turns out that he had been in the galley and had just left the TV on, and it was like HBO late night or whatever. Right. So it had just switched over to.
It's always good. Cinemax at night, right? Cinemax
at
night. There you go.
So he's
very young. Read mind.
He's mortified, and he's completely mortified. He ended up working for me again a year or two later, and he was the best crew I'd ever. He was one of the best first mates I'd ever worked with, ultimately. But I loved torturing him with that story for years after.
Does your husband come with you a lot? Like come with you a lot when you're transporting everything? Because I know your husband he's the something breaks down. He's the one that takes care of that stuff.
Yes.
As I've read, he tricked you to go on a boat ride. Okay.
So he was my ship's engineer when I worked on big yachts. So he was responsible for all of the ship systems. He's still the most brilliant boat fixer I've ever encountered. And just generally so aware of the mechanics of a boat. So aware. Like, he'll know a problem a week before you have it. It's crazy. It's really wild. And it probably really helped my career to have him around, because like I said, I had a very boring career. Nothing ever went wrong for me. And it's probably partly to do with the fact that my husband could spot these problems well ahead of time. So I never had a breakdown that would have messed me up.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. It makes a big difference to have full-time crew that are maintaining your vessel and are good at it. So I'm so spoiled, and that it makes it kind of boring. All of my boat stories are boring because of it.
Not boring. Well, tell us. All right, give us a quick little. Okay, like I said, most likely they're very wealthy people, and you've had some young wealthy people in there just really being very drunk, very naked, very doing dumb stuff, and before you know it, nobody's fell overboard. Nobody's like say, "Oh my God, somebody jumped off the boat when you weren't expecting." Anybody, like goes all of a sudden the whole boat goes skinny dipping in the ocean somewhere.
Oh, okay. No, I did have one of these happen, actually. So I was doing a one-off charter. Again, it's always, the interesting stories always happen when it's a boat that I haven't been personally responsible for the whole time. So I'm doing a one-off charter for a friend because their original captain had something happen. I don't know what. And I get there, and it's, of course, a bunch of models and the gentleman who chartered the boat. So we go, and we're going to go to the sandbar, and we're going to anchor by the sandbar, and everybody's going to jump off and go swimming. Well, I'm getting ready to put the anchor down, and all of a sudden the mate runs up to me. He's like, "They jumped off!"
Oh,
I'm like, I'm still in gear at this point, and I'm like, oh my God, I can do nothing. So I put everything in neutral, and I just have to drift there while I explain to all the people in the water, like, I need you to either swim well away from the boat or get the heck back on board.
right.
So that I can maneuver this vessel. Otherwise, you're going to get chopped up in the propellers and die. Um, and they're beautiful. They're completely gorgeous women, and I was so frustrated by how little self-preservation they had in terms of like jumping into this water. What ended up happening is they tried to swim towards the sandbar, but of course there's a rip in current right there. That's why there's a sandbar there. It's created by this current that pushes all the sand. So most of them are terrible swimmers too, come to find out. So the mate and I are tying together lines and life jackets and throwing this line out. And then he jumps in the water and has to swim, like sort of ping ponging around each of these models, which he did not object to.
No. Oh, you didn't say they were models. That's cool.
Oh, yeah. Models
or girl models. Oh, girl model. I
mean, all girl models. Yeah. So well, I've had some, a little of everybody, but no. So that was an annoying one. But in general, I mean, part of my job as captain was to be a little, I'm going to say, unaware,
right,
of things that were happening. I needed a certain amount of deniability for some of the parties that happen on board. So
how about like you being in New York? Any famous people be stupid up there? See, I see. I mean,
again, I'm so boring. All of my, I did mostly private. I very rarely did charter. And when I did, it was these little one-offs. And most of the time I was working for people that are titans of industry. Like you could read about them as, the owner of whoever makes all the olive oil happen in this part of the world. Like it's boring, but very wealthy people stuff. Or they just own a lot of property, or they have a hedge fund, or
don't have nothing better to do.
Just boring stuff, but insane wealth, just insane wealth. And I think it warps your brain a little bit, because when you can just throw money at a problem, it makes it really hard to say no.
Right.
You just don't say no ever. So you end up doing things. I would say the hardest part about transitioning to captain was that it finally became my job to say no. When I was a deckhand and somebody said, hey, can we take the jet ski over to this country? I said, let me grab the tender and I will run alongside with your passports and I will make this happen for you, along with the visas that I'm going to call frantically and like get set up so that we can make this happen for you. It was just, you just never said no. No matter what it was, like, oh, they want a Danish from this bakery that's closed. Figure out how to call somebody and get them in there and have them bake the damn Danish. Because
really, I mean, I'm going like, okay, so it is real. TV isn't a joke.
No.
TV doesn't say there. I mean, there's some really, really like, I get it. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. This bakery's closed. No, figure it out.
Be gone with you and figure it out and get me my Danish. Oh my goodness gracious. That's absolutely like Overboard, that movie Overboard. Right?
Yes, I love Goldie Hawn. Oh my gosh, that movie is absolutely one of my favorites.
I watch it. I watch it all the time. My wife left the room the other day because I was watching A Few Good Men for about the millionth time.
Yeah, you like what you like. I get it.
Well, you watch little parts of it, but I actually sat down and watched that whole thing the other day. So being in Baltimore, so I met you. So I met her at the Chesapeake Bay boat show. She loves boat shows,
I love boat shows.
and they had a. I'm with Fish Hunt, Maryland. I'm sitting there with little Paulie. We're sitting there, and right next to us was a tent that really supports the sailing boating industry of YouTubers.
Yeah.
And so that's where you kind of came up. And I mean, there are some really there was I was watching a couple of videos when you're going to these boat shows, especially in Chesapeake, there are some really people lined up like for it seemed like forever to see these people.
Oh
Some
yeah.
of them.
Oh yeah.
You were talking to a young couple.
So yeah, I guess I was there with Ryan and Sophie sailing and MJ sailing. They are both so much fun, such lovely people. And they both have channels that have hundreds of thousands of followers and people who get very excited to meet them in real life. And I completely understand it because they're putting out these beautiful stories about their lives living on board. And I was there mostly as I'm just a fan of boat shows, right? I
Right.
love showing up to the show and seeing what's new, what's coming down the pipe, because I do so much coaching for other people
Mhm.
on boats that I kind of need to know what's new, what's going to surprise me when I get on board somebody's new boat. And I go, wait, how does this work? Like, what is this button that I've never seen before? I never want to be caught in a situation where that happens. So I go to boat shows and I poke around and I ask a million questions because the brokers and the technicians and the designers are all there and they're stuck talking to you.
Yeah, that's what they're there for. They're definitely there for that. I mean, the I just don't know how, because when I finally went on my first head boat not too long ago. I went out in the ocean. I used to get sick in the bay. You go in the bay and you get a little wavy, and I used to get like, oh God. So I took the chance. It was only gonna be 5 to 10 mile an hour winds. I finally go offshore. It was a 2 hour ride out because the boat only
Mhm.
did 11 mile an hour, 12 mile an hour. One of these big boats out of Ocean City, and that scared me. But I forgot. Well, I almost forgot. I told a story. I forgot where I was going with it, but I was always scared of the ocean. The ocean. I respect the ocean. How
You
about that?
should be scared of it. It's terrifying.
I mean, it can just really turn the weather. I mean, even in some of the rivers in the bay, I mean, it can being a boater, and especially in a small boat that I have, being in the bay, I mean, it could turn on you like a storm. I mean, it just can.
Yeah, the water's always trying to kill you. Absolutely. It's a healthy fear that you have, and I get the romanticism that people have in their heads about like, oh, the ocean. It's so amazing and beautiful and life affirming. And I'm like, yes, it's life affirming for me as well, but only because, oh my God, I survived again like, in
Right.
this
You don't
roiling
make it look like that.
mass. You know, it's because I'm
You know,
secretly an adrenaline junkie. But this is how I do it. I don't want to jump out of airplanes. I just want to ride the waves.
I thought I wanted to do that. I'm not. I'm definitely not going. I thought that I wanted to go down to Ocean City and jump out of a plane, but then I just like no. I feel much better here on the ground. I think that we can watch people do it. It's our adrenaline rush, but I think I'm good. It just takes once, it just takes one time for something to go wrong. We know.
Oh, yeah. There's all kinds of things you can be doing out there to scare the heck out of yourself. But I think what I really like about being on the water is that it challenges my knowledge every time. Every time I'm out on the water, I am sort of testing and retesting everything I know about seamanship because it's always a little different. The sea state's always a little different. There's always some kind of weather that you're thinking about projecting.
Mhm.
the boat will surprise you in some way or another. Either you're not making the right load on the engines that you thought you should, or your speed isn't what you thought you should, or you thought you'd have more current than you do, and so your whole timetable is off. So now you might have to rethink what your next stop is because your fuel burn is not going to be right. There's always something to challenge you.
Do you do? Why did I do that again? I had my mine went somewhere. My mind went somewhere. See, that's what happens.
You're adrift. You're adrift.
I mean, I really enjoy it. My wife enjoys it. You know, when it's really nice and everything, it can be really good. We've taken our, we got our little boat. We've taken our pups out for this year. We actually got them on a boat a lot this year. They were so good on the boat. They're so good on the boat. I've taken my St. Bernard out on the boat. She was great on it. She loved it. But yeah, there's somebody sneaking around me now. But if some, what would you want as a captain right now? Are you good at what you're doing, or would you rather be towing boats around? Would you actually be hired specifically to do what you were doing before, going from New York to Florida? Somebody completely hiring you full time as a captain, or you retired from that and you just want to do that? So I mean, what are you really? Because I mean, you got to be what, 28? You've been 20 years in a boat. So all right. So what are you about?
I love you. Let's go with 28. That's fantastic. I'll take that.
You're not one that fun.
Oh no, I'm quite a bit older than that. Thank you though. And sunscreen is the answer. Everybody wear your sunscreen. It's important. No, I'm so thrilled to be doing what I'm doing. I do still like to challenge myself by going out and doing passages, but I don't want to do it full time because it's just too hard on family. It's too hard on having a life, owning a house. Any of that stuff it's too much when you're away all the time. And I know captains that do it, and it's hard on their families, and I don't want that for my family. So I'm thrilled that I now get to sort of keep my finger on it, but I don't have to.
Do you know Paul Peters?
No, who's Paul Peters? Why does this lady look like a failed realtor? Because I was trying to look nice for you today. All right. Normally I look like a windblown mess, but here I am trying to behave myself and look pretty. How dare you, Paul?
I could have swore. Well, obviously this person knows Captain Boomies, but that's funny. But I just find it interesting with the sailing and the boating, because I mean, like I said, I respect the ocean, scared of it. So that's why I think I never. Well, you know what it is for me. You know what it is. I'm not a pleasure boater. It bores me.
Okay.
Pleasure boating absolutely bores me. So I don't know how people can, because I watched what's it called, Zataran or Zatan, or the family that goes on their catamaran and they go around.
Yeah, I love those guys.
They're in freaking Egypt. They're going through oceans where there actually can be Somali pirates and stuff. I'm like, you're nuts. There's no way I would. So they went everywhere. I mean, they're in Egypt, they're in Israel. I mean, they're in some. I mean, you're American going into some of these areas that might not quite like American.
They don't like you. They don't like you, and for good reason. Their life sucks.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And you're coming in all fancy boat, and I'm going. I've watched a lot of their stuff. I think it's really fun. But how can you sit in that little boat for weeks? I mean, weeks together, without throwing somebody, killing one of your kids, because they got to be annoying after a while. Because teenagers are. I don't care how good you say they are. They can be just. You just want to drag them in a dinghy for a couple miles. Just leave them back there in the dinghy and freaking just leave them out there. You know what I mean?
I'm sure they're tempted, but I feel like, even my parents wanted to throttle me plenty of times when I was a teenager. So I don't know if you have to live with somebody, you got to live with somebody, whether or not they're all in the same boat together, except that imagine So I imagine it's a lot like working on boats. So when I was working on boats, everybody in the crew has a job to do every day. There's always
Mhm.
something to maintain, something to work on, something to organize, something to deal with, something to clean, and you just do the job, and in the in between, you have a little fun with each other. That's all.
That's that's your as you were saying in your, as I'm looking at your thing, your father had a big part of keeping you on the water when you were younger.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you appreciate that he take and he was on actually, the picture I got you as a little baby with your
Teeny
dad on
tiny
a
baby.
sailboat,
Yeah,
on a
he
sailboat.
yeah, my father loves sailing. He had us out sailing very, very young. There's a story about him capsizing a small sailboat in the East River in New York with my sister on board, and uh, he was a very young father. This was a terrible idea, like all around. The East River is known for its intense currents and heavy boat traffic, and why he was out in a tiny little capsizable sailboat with an infant basically on him is absolutely bonkers. But he righted the boat and managed to sail back home and didn't
Everybody
tell
okay.
his wife, my mother, for many years that that's what happened.
Oh, grief. But you have
'Cause yeah.
I have I mean, some of the really, really I mean, I've seen some so you've been on some really because some of the pictures you have here, I mean, you've been on some really big fancy yachts. I mean,
Yes.
like, top of the line, like, one of these look like they're gotta be 100 foot at least.
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah. So it's funny, I'm not even sure what I sent you, as far as
No,
pictures go.
I'm looking at your website. I'm looking at your website.
Oh, okay, I got you. Yeah, I mean,
I'm on your website right now.
oh, fun. CaptainBoomies.com. Come find me. I do all kinds of silly stuff. But yeah, the yachts that I worked on were in the my sweet spot was 100 to 150 foot. And that usually had anywhere from like uh 4 to 8 crew. And so you'd sort of yeah, it worked out. It was great. I really enjoyed my time in yachting, except that you are always on somebody else's schedule and you make a lot of money, but you can't spend it because you have no time. So I just got tired of never having my own time to see or do anything. Like I've been to a bunch of countries that I had my passport stamped and I didn't get off the boat. Like I literally didn't touch land while I was there.
'Cause you
And
got
it's
it 'cause you're babysitting basically.
yeah, exactly. So it's sort of it's glamorous and romantic and I don't regret any of it, but I didn't want to do that forever.
So you're definitely having fun now. So you gotta get a little bit more on your time, a little bit more on your time,
You
getting
got
boat
it.
shows, maybe drinking a cocktail or something like that.
Oh yeah, I'm heading to the bar right after this.
I was, you did we're gonna it's been about an hour, so what we'll do, we'll get ready to knock it off, but you've actually got to talk with, I'm telling you, I've talked to some commercial guys, I've talked to some guys, a lot of people. I think how was Luke in person? You talked to him and his wife. I
Oh
think you
my
talked
god.
to them before they got married.
Yeah, I did. They're delightful. They're so much fun. Luke is really smart, but his wife Lindsay is even more clever than he is. Like she is paying attention to everything that's going on and she doesn't miss anything. So she's the
I mean,
reason that whole machine works as well as it does. So don't sleep on her. She's amazing.
it's funny. I was watching one because I got some guys in the commercial don't like him a lot. They're saying that he's giving away all the secrets. He's doing
Giving
all
away
I'm like, what are you? I don't. It's kind of it's kind of what I hear. That he's not using this platform. He's not using this platform to, um, you know, political. I'm thinking, well, maybe the guy don't want to get it political. So I don't mind watching him build stuff. But I caught myself the other day, and so I watched the video. Turned on his YouTube channel, and I was 2 minutes in, and then I looked in the air. I'm like, I'm watching this dude clean his freaking pickup truck out. What am I watching?
He's entertaining. That's
So I
all
thought,
he's doing. He's entertaining. So the people that are in the industry that are upset about it, they need to understand that what he's doing is entertaining people who will never, ever in their lives spend any time on a crabbing boat. They don't care. But what
water.
they might do, which I think is incredibly valuable, is maybe ask at the restaurant, hey, are these Maryland crabs? And
Right.
that is the value. Like, and
And-
why they don't see that is beyond me.
Well, his platform's probably got like Jimmy Seafood, or I think whoever he was related or who he was working with. I
Mhm.
mean, how many people around the country has had crab shipped to him?
It's
You know, crab,
amazing. It's
you know what I mean?
absolutely
So,
amazing.
and I'm not making fun, but he's actually really little.
Oh, he's teeny tiny.
He's a little dude. He's like, I met him once. I'm like, kind of,
He knows
I
it. He
expected
knows
him.
he's itty bitty.
He's kind of little, but he's funny and he's smart. When I watch him, work, putting stuff together, making scrap, he was doing it the other day. He was making something for catfishing, and I was watching it because I think he might do a little commercial catfishing. I did try to get on him and CJ's boat this year to kind of, because on my YouTube channel, and don't forget to subscribe. Captain Boomie's YouTube channel, and she has a podcast called the Funny Boat Podcast. And and if you're a nerd and you want to watch stuff about boating, drinking a couple, she has really good beer or liquor. It could be rum, could be pineapple,
I'm
could one
way,
one or the other.
I'm, yeah, on my show, I'm way less well behaved.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Sorry.
I'm surprised we've only had a couple of shits. Or, we don't have that. We have not had an F bomb yet, so we're good. But
It is not safe for work, my channel. So
she actually, you gotta. And she teaches, so she does. You do classes on how to classes, and you teach actually for captain licenses and stuff, right?
I don't teach captain's courses, but I do. Fun fact: I am helping Annapolis School of Seamanship develop their video captain's course. So they're going to try to do a digital captain's license, since that seems to be the way everybody is going, and they don't want to be left behind. Meanwhile, I think it's awesome to go take your captain's class in person. I love all of their educators. I think they're incredible people, so knowledgeable, and I love getting into the nitty-gritty of the rules of the road with them. It's fun. It's such a nerdy captain thing to do, and I'm sorry anytime that I ever get lost in the weeds talking about it on other people's channels, because it's details you don't
No,
need.
yeah, but that's the whole point. On my podcast, I just started this tackle shop podcast. We're going to be talking fishing. I think I'm going to have Rachel on here. She's she's my buddy. She's a captain too, but she does all the commercial crabbing. That's why I try to get on CJ and Luke's channel, not on their boat, because I've never been on a boat that does potting. I've always been on a trout lining commercial boat. So I always, wanted to go on, kind of film it for my channel. But now they're blowing up now. So everybody in God's name is asking them to come on their boat,
Yeah,
but I'll get a chance with one of them. And it's just really to kind of get a perspective on my channel of the other type of, because watermen, I mean, if when we talk about politics, if
I
last time I
am very
heard,
curious about this, because I've heard that people hate these guys, and I was trying to understand why. Like, what is it that they're doing that is like so the comments when Luke is on my channel, or in my Instagram feed, are about how he's not a real crabber or whatever. I'm like, well, I bought crabs from him, so like, I don't know what does it take to be a real crabber.
yeah, but you know how hard it is to do what he was doing this year. Not only was he going out and catching his crabs, he didn't rely on a buyer. So a buyer, if you work for a buyer, like, next door neighbor, you
Mhm.
actually you take all your crabs and you sell to a buyer, which actually has a crab house, or he takes them out to other crab houses, whatever it may be. Where he came in, now I think he was working with Jimmy's. I think it was Jimmy's, or maybe he was working with another one, Comrades. He was working with somebody, and for him to come in, take the crabs that he caught and relied on his stuff to sell them. And, I mean, that's hard. And not only did he get up at whatever time in the morning and run the boat all day. He had to rush down, take them crabs, get them to this stand and sell them. So I know he's got help, but let me tell you what, man. And then he does all the videos. Editing isn't as easy as people think it is.
It takes forever. It takes so long.
I've gotten better at it. I've gotten better at it.
I
But
haven't.
well, I mean, it's just where I wanted to go to a different version of editing, and I was like, no, just stick what I got because I don't need I don't need a lot of fancy stuff. I try to do some kind of stuff. Um, but I keep telling my wife, we would have so many more subscribers if she would just get in a bikini or a wet t-shirt or something while we're out on the boat. No, I'm just kidding. She goes, that's never going to happen. But I said, we need to show your face more, not mine. My face maybe is not helping right now. We need to put her on there.
Oh, I don't know. I think you're plenty cute.
Yeah, see, she said that we're working on 37 years we've been together.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah,
Also,
that's very.
how do you do it?
How do
I'm
you do?
impressed.
It's seriously, I'll tell you honest truth is that hey, we both suck at something, and you just got to deal with it. And you're going to piss you off somehow. She won't take all the toothpaste and put it all the way to the front. She squeezes from the top and lets it all go back to the bottom. So it's like little things like that, you know. But
Awesome.
you just move on. But we still, at least on my part, I still can't. I still think she's the most beautiful woman in the world. She's been ever since I met her at 19 years old. I met her at 19 years old,
Oh,
and she tolerates me. So if she can tolerate me, anybody can tolerate me for as long as she has. I'll do whatever she wants.
I
She's
love
kind of
that. Congratulations. And you guys, your channel is so much fun. I think that you're really proving everything that I love about the Chesapeake Bay is real. You're really out there making it obvious to people that like you can be so fulfilled by this bay. So
good.
fulfilled.
Good.
Yeah.
So this is your time. She said it. She's going to come out. And we're going to take a crabbing. She's going to take a nice little, all them nice pretty fingernails. So I might get a little crab stuff like that. So we'll take you out, and you and the wife can still have you guys drink. I usually when I'm on the boat, I usually don't drink when I'm on the
Good
boat.
for you.
She'll bring a couple beers with her. I usually don't. While I'm driving the boat and everything, I usually don't. But we're usually in shallow water. We might be in 8 foot of water, but we usually get crabs. I'll wait for the crabs to start rolling this year. Bring you out one day. I mean, and like I said, if you're interested, I can take, because you were talking about the camera and stuff. She actually did. She would work 8 hours for like PBS, I think it was PBS or something, brought an actor kid in to talk about crab in the Chesapeake Bay and female crabbing and stuff, and brought the little girl up, and the girl didn't want to touch the crab, the girl didn't want to do it. So it would take 8 hours. She said there was like 15 people around her all day long. It was terrible recording. She goes, I will never do that again. Because
Ooh.
I just leave her alone. I let her do her job and just videotape her. Maybe once in a while I'll put a mic on her or something, but usually, I kind of just let her do her thing. I help her, so she always loves to help calling crabs and everything. So I would think that she would not mind if you wanted to go hang out. It's kind of can be a long day,
Sure.
but it's usually you can always pick a day that's good for you, and she don't care because she goes every day. She goes 6 days a week. He's out crabbing,
Good for her. Ah,
Yeah, she takes one day
yeah.
off a week, and then usually she takes off all winter. But now the last 2 years, that's 3 years. She's
Mm.
been 2 years. She's been out oystering, so she's oystering, you know. So she's nonstop. And I'm telling you, it's a hard job. Watch the video. Just watch a quick video of the oystering video I did with her, and watch how she's got to pick them big giant. She's barely 100 pounds. She might be a little over 100 pounds, and she's picking up big giant bushels of oysters and carrying them to the back of a 40-foot boat. So
You're making me hungry now. now I want to go get oysters.
yeah. But I got to thank you. I know I came out of nowhere. I've been really bugging a lot of people to come on and do the podcast because I'm just something I'm trying to develop. Maybe not enjoy in the wintertime as much as the Chesapeake Bay that, I used to be able to get out and love the cold weather, but I will be out. I will be out catfishing. I will be out doing all kind of fishing lately. I did go do some hunting But I usually don't show that too much because I don't kill anything. My wife said we would starve if she relied on me for bringing food home. We're in trouble if anything happened. But thank you very much. I appreciate you taking the time to come out and hang with me. And you weren't you see you thought you were boring, but you're not boring, or I wouldn't even even if you were, we're just bullshitting. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And that's the best thing. And you're a female captain, and a lot of people, maybe there is a girl in here sitting there saying, maybe my daughter could do it, or something like that. Gets on your channel and realize that being on the boat could be fun, I guess.
being on a boat is fun.
Yeah,
Everybody loves being on a boat.
yeah, for the most part, unless you get seasick like me and my because as long as it ain't more than 1 foot wave, I'm good.
Oh God, you poor thing. Yeah, no, I full disclosure, I get seasick as well. It just takes a bit more.
What do you do for seasickness? There you go. Do you get a patch
Ooh,
or like a patch or something like that?
no, scopolamine patches don't agree with me. It's a some of the side effects of them are just a little too hectic,
I like
and
Grandma.
same with all the I can't take Dramamine. I'll just be passed out. It hurts too bad. So really, if I'm feeling seasick, I mostly just let it fly over the rail, and then try to keep busy. If I keep busy enough, it usually will subside after a very long time.
You want to know something cool about that? So I was talking to Captain Newberry. He has a boat out of Ocean City, a big boat out of Ocean City, a fishing
Uh-huh.
vessel, and he said if you get, he goes, I said, oh, I'm scared about getting seasick. Oh, don't worry about it. We got a chamber inside the boat that you can go in and get into the chamber, and it'll like put you to sleep or something. It's a
Huh.
chamber you can put in, and it does something, gets rid of the seasickness.
That's really interesting because actually my seasickness mostly manifests itself as sleepiness, and that's why if I really am feeling seasick and I've got somebody who can take the helm for a bit, if I take a 20-minute nap, I can usually get back up and feel fine for the rest of the passage. So that's interesting. I've never really thought about it until
Yeah.
hmm.
See, you learned something from the
Hmm.
chicken that are down here on Eastern Shore. You know, yeah, well,
I
thank you.
learned so much. You've got so much to teach me, and I can't wait to go hang out this summer.
Yeah, I mean, I'll teach you. Look, I was going to drink a beer with you, but I think last night I drank too many. And, maybe that's why I slept in. And I got to sleep in at 9 o'clock this morning. This was like ridiculous.
Don't
Um,
you worry. I'll go have a bunch for you.
all right. Hey, everybody, anybody stopped by, I appreciate. Thank you. And Captain Boomies, thank you. I will see you at the boat shows. I will definitely be stopping at one or two. All right.
Bon voyage. I'll see you
All right.
there.
See you.